What's up guys, Freddy Fishfinger here. I am going to show you how to make a layout for your Pokemon videos or whatever else on YouTube. Now, I do recommend using Photoshop for those of you that do have it, and I will leave a link to a video that I've created showing you how to do so. Somewhere around here you'll be able to see it. But for those of you that don't have it, really don't want to use it, I do go through for those of you that are uncomfortable and wouldn't mind learning. But for those of you that really oppose using it or, can't afford it or just don't want to spend the money, this one will be better for you. I tend to use Photoshop, but we'll see what we can do here. Now, what I recommend is just finding an image on Google that works for you. Let's say we're doing a Pokemon Yellow playthrough, and I'm bringing that up because I'm doing that. But you'll pick an image, say like this. Then what you do from there is, first thing you want to do is create a viewing screen. Now, your viewing screen, I recommend you choose a white color. Now, of course, this is going to be the main thing, and we're going to pick the square shape because square is the easiest to work with, or rectangle shape, sorry, I apologize. But, if you really get ambitious, use one of your other colors or whatever. I'm not going to show you how to do them because that's not something I'm familiar with doing. But I know how to use the rectangle tool, and realistically, for something that people are going to be looking at, it can work fine. What you do from here is you create your shape over an area that you think will be fine and that you can look at. Ideally, I want to keep this Pikachu because I think that's a key point of the image, especially if we're doing a Pokemon Yellow playthrough. I feel like that'd be really nice to keep. So I think if we start here, what we're going to do is create this nice shape behind, and let's say we want the screen as big as this. Now, we did leave this inside section of the shape, which is, you can work with it if you really want to. I think it's a lot easier if we change that to the one white color. So what you do is you select this area up here, and you try to get most of this area as you can. If you don't get all of it, let's say we screw up and we miss the bottom part, that's not a big problem. If we just press delete, that area that we just highlighted will change to whatever our color in here is. So if you want a different color, just press Control Z because it will swap back to what you had initially. Okay, so if we press Control Z, it swaps back to this. So if we do that again, this time I'll try to get the whole thing. You don't want to go outside your border though, because if you go outside your border, then it changes the dimension of your thing, and you don't really want to do that. So if we scroll down from here, I think we've got the whole thing this time, and we did. So that creates a nice little thing here. Now, I recommend doing a border, but it's entirely up to you guys. If I would do a border, I would get this little rectangle tool here, and what I would do is simply create a rectangle about there, seems about right, and just go all the way down the page. Now, it's hard to see exactly what you've done when I'm zoomed out so far, so by scrolling in a little bit more and creating another rectangle, I can see what I've done there. Now what I'm going to do here is highlight this area inside the rectangle that I did not get and change the secondary color to black, because once I delete that, that will become the same color as my border. And that's what you want to work with. That's what makes it a lot easier. Then we delete this part, and unfortunately, because it is so finite, we can only do bit by bit, but we will get all of it, so it's not terrible. Delete that section there, scroll down again, and there's a bit of repetition involved in this, but it's not a big problem. You can work with it fairly well. And I'm trying to do this quickly, you guys, because I know some people don't want to look at the longest videos and all that on how to do things, and they look at it and they go, oh yeah, but I don't want to be spending that much time learning how to do it, and then that much time on doing it myself. So I'm trying to do this quickly, you guys. I did make a video using the exact same technique literally just before starting this one, or starting the recording for this one, but that ended up being 40 minutes long, and I just looked at that and I said, no one is going to want to spend 40 minutes learning how to do this. So if I can speed it up a little bit, I know it may look like it's going to be a little bit fast, but unfortunately the things are very fidgety to work with in Paint, because it is a basic program. Okay, we have finished the first side of the border there. Now the easiest way to work with this from here is get as much of that border as you can just by starting from here and then scrolling across. Control C, Control V, and then you drag it across. and the part that you wouldn't want highlighted from this side of your border ends up becoming invisible on this side. So it becomes fine to work with. Then what we're going to do is zoom in. Zooming in is your friend, you guys. It makes things really easy. And see how I've missed the top bit here? You wouldn't be able to tell unless you zoomed in. So we just use the pencil tool, and we just get as much of that area as we can. And then we scroll down, and we missed the bottom part as well, guys. So we're going to have to do the same thing. Just pencil tool. If you screw up, Control Z. That's all I can say. Control Z is the easiest to do. Now, you would do the same with the top and the bottom. You grab this little rectangle tool here, you create your image as such, and you're done. Then we zoom in to see how much of it we actually missed. By the looks of it, a reasonable amount. So then we're going to create another rectangle going over that, and we might have to create another one again. Okay, that's fine. We'll create another one again then, and then we'll just zoom over like so. Whoop, too far. And we can create another image like this. If you keep your top and bottom, whoop, that did not work. I'm not sure what happened there. Let's do that again. Okay, that worked that time. Then we just go over again. Might have to do this 2 or 3 more times. That was one of them. Then we can just scroll over again. And you guys can probably hear this loud clicking noise because that tends to happen in some of my recordings. I am actually on a laptop recording this, so that's me hitting the touchpad rather than making a mouse click or whatever. But you know, it might be annoying, but just bear with it, guys. Okay, and I know you guys are tough. You can deal with it. You guys have copped a lot worse than a freaking mouse clicking or button clicking in your life. Okay, there we go. That's that top layer done. Now, again, go over to this area here. Whoop. Not what I wanted. Control Z. Select first. Then you go over to this area here. Highlight your top layer. Control Z. Control C. Then you move it down as much as you can, and make sure you get nothing but the black base showing. Now, if things start to look a little bit dodgy, which they seem to be up the top there, if you just zoom in and then zoom out, they fix themselves. Turns out that we did create our top layer fairly large, so I recommend pressing Control Z and going back, or creating more layers over here. But for time saving, I'm just going to leave that, guys, so you're just going to have to bear with that. Then what we're going to do is change this color to white again, and work with this little area here, because that's going to be our heading. Now again, what you're going to do is change this little area to white, so that it matches this, and go on the inside layer of this new rectangle that you formed. You can go circle or something else for this, but rectangle's easiest to work with. And there you go. So I've created that. Now let's change our text color to red, and we're going to type in... No, we didn't change our text color, we changed our background color to red. Change your text color to red, your background color can stay white or whatever it is you want. And we're going to type in Pokemon Yellow Playthrough. Why? Because this is the image that I used for my Pokemon Yellow Nuzlocke playthrough, whatever you want to call it. Now, I think 72 is a bit large. Let's see if 48 fits on this viewing screen. Nope. Control Z that. Oh, go away. Damn, I've stuffed up. Okay, what we're going to do is just control... it's not working. Click home, then go Control... Control Z. There. Now start again. Pokemon Yellow Playthrough. Can't spell either. Okay, there. Now we're going to move this down, and we can fit more of that text in at a larger size, and so 72 is too large though. So we're going to actually delete this 42 in here, and let's say 60. How big is 60? 60 seems to fit. So what we do is we're going to see if we can move this over. Yep, moving it over will fit it onto the screen. Then we click select, and it's a bit low, so we're just going to highlight over it, get the whole thing, and we're just going to move it up. Now, this color may change from a white if that color's different, but I still have white, that's why it's the same. So If it is different, get your paint bucket, choose white, and then highlight over it. That'll fix it. From here, what you do is you want to create a team preview or something. Squares are the easiest thing to work with, and we want them to be white or black. Let's say black this time, just because black and white are nice contrasting colors. Keeping them squares makes them easy to work with. You can easily just make, you can easily always make rectangles if you want. They're fine to work with as well. But this time, it doesn't let me copy and paste it because paint doesn't work like that. So we're going to make a square of a similar size over the top of this, and then we're going to move it next to it. Okay, unfortunately, we can't get any better than that, but we can still make it reasonably similar. And, you know, the people that are watching your playthrough or whatever it is you're doing, they won't be able to tell that it's a lot different if you make it as close to the same as possible. Then we just drag them to the position that we want them in. So we're going to say that we want our 6 to be lined up like this. Okay, that's 5 of them, and this is going to be the 6th one. Like so. Okay, that's how I would do it. That's how it's going to be laying out. Then from here, you can create another box putting party or whatever about there, but that's not a large space. So I wouldn't worry about using that space, because using less is better, in my opinion. Then what you're going to want to do is probably have a little bit of what they call product placement, and what you would use is your channel. So I have already opened up my image that I use on my channel, and I'm just going to press Control A or Command A, Command C to copy it, and then Command V to paste it. And then we're just going to drag this down to the bottom to get on our border. Now, what I'm actually going to do is go Control Z that, because we don't want to go over our border. We want that to stay the same size. Now, you guys can see that I did miss a layer here. I would recommend putting that as black, but for time saving, I'm going to ignore that for this time. Then we go Control Paste, and here is my logo. So I'm just going to bring that all the way down to the bottom, just above the base. And what to do from here? We are going to create a white background, and we're going to make this look deliberately, make it look like it deliberately has a white background, because otherwise it looks like, okay, you haven't inserted it correctly. It kind of looks odd and unusual. Now, it does look better without it, and if you have just a base color for your background, I recommend using that color and getting rid of this white area. But unfortunately, this picture has a gradient, so it's way too difficult to move around with. So I would recommend just doing something like this. Move your shape size over to as much as you can. If you stuff up, you can either move one over like I've done here, because this area is all going to become white, or you just press Control Z to start that little bit again. I recommend taking pauses in amongst your stroke so that you can, you know, say I stuff up now. If you press Control Z, rather than having to do the whole thing again, it's the last thing you finished off at. Now that you're down there, what you're going to do is just highlight this inner bit that you want to make white here. And you just go as far down as your border, press delete, and then you're going to open up your pen tool again. We're going to have black text this time. We're going to type in Freddy Fish Finger, or whatever your name is, obviously. Then we are going to move across to try to get the word fish finger onto one line. Okay, now that is clearly far too big for what we can afford to use. So by zooming up, and I'm just going to zoom out because it makes it easier to work with for this one by the looks of things. There it is, Freddy Fish Finger, all in the one go. That is way too big to use. So we're going to have to reduce the size. Let's say about 48. How big's 48? That's still a bit too big. We're going to reduce it again to 40. Whoop, not 40, 48, just 40. And we can work with that. So then just move it to within this little white area, preferably not over your image of whatever this is. For me, it's the extra drill, you guys can see that. Then go home. Click on select and move the first word into roughly the middle. You won't be able to tell once you reduce your image size, but that to me looks about right. See how that looks very nice and neat in the middle there? That white background now looks deliberate. It looks like product placement or whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. But it gives you know, people you show people who you are and stuff. Then if you want to, I recommend including the badges that you see through the game in this little area here. But before you do anything else, I would go to insert an image in this little area here. I don't have an image to insert for you guys, but say you're doing a playthrough of Zelda, maybe you want a picture of Zelda or Link here or something like that. A Mario playthrough, put Mario here or something. Probably not your mascot for your channel, because you've already got that down in an area like this, and obviously your areas will change depending on what image that you've got. Make it so that it still looks nice. So if you've got an image like this Pikachu, say in this area here, it makes it quite difficult to get around, so I would deliberately go over it. If it's more in the corner like this Pikachu, it looks better to leave it, so that's why I've done that. Now, of course, you'd probably make these squares a little bit bigger if you would want. The easiest way to do that is draw a pencil line down and delete the areas, but this may actually be better because we still don't have a lot of space to work with, so it's up to you guys. Again, a big picture here might look nice as well. For Pokemon, I'd put badges down here or a death count down here, but before I do those, what I would do is insert all those things. Then I would save this file as what it is. Call it a name that you can remember. Then what I would do beyond that is insert your images for your team as you go through later. That way you can always come back to this image and insert stuff onto that later if you need to. The way to do that is just zoom up and you come over to this little area here. Then you go to the image you're inserting. Let's say I'm inserting Excadrill again. Command C. You go over to this area, and you can see that my image of Excadrill is too large for that area, which is unfortunate. So what I'm going to do is actually delete that. We're going to reduce the size of our image, and we're deliberately going to go beyond the area of our image, because this area we can play on as much as we want. Let's get our pencil tool, scribble all over it. It doesn't matter, because at the end we're just going to delete that area. Okay, so what we're going to do is zoom in, scroll across, find our image of Excadrill or whatever it is you guys are working with, and because we know it's too large, I'm just going to delete a couple layers at the bottom here, and then I'm going to delete the top couple layers as well. Now ideally you don't want to delete too much of the image, because then it becomes a little bit unrecognizable and you don't really want that. But we're going to just have a look and get a base idea of how this fits into the box now. And as you guys can see, it's still too big. And as for width, we're probably a little bit too wide. So what we will end up doing is just zooming back in, because zooming in is just a lot easier to work with your image on. And we will just delete the end bit of Excadrill's head or whatever so it can fit into the box. And that's just called cropping. This is all I'm doing, guys. It's just a very basic form of cropping. Going to delete another top part of his head. Going to delete another bottom part of his body so that we can keep the main bits, which are his face and his lining. Then from here, I'm just going to move that in. It doesn't matter. You don't have to do that yet. You try to get the very end of Excadrill's body to keep the image as close as possible to the ends. And then you try bring him in. Now, our image fits beautifully in width, but it's still too large in height. So I'm just going to quickly delete a little bit more from the top of his head. Let's say down to there. And then I'm going to delete a little bit more from the bottom of his body. And that, to me, seems like it will fit. So from here, you try bring him in, and it still turns out that it doesn't. So we're going to have to delete. From this point, I recommend you try work out where you have to delete to, because it makes it a lot easier rather than guessing every single time. And it seems we'll have to go and delete about to there. And then you try again, get the end of Excadrill's body, and you try to insert that. Now, it seems that we still haven't done enough. Okay. So we're going to delete a little bit more off the top, because we delete a little bit off the bottom every single time. You try to get the very edges of Excadrill's body. If you miss one layer, it will not be the end of your image, as you can tell there. You can still tell this is Excadrill. Now, if you go one little bit over the actual border, that will be fine. The border will still work, and nobody will be able to tell. See how I'm literally one layer over? In the big scheme of things, nobody will be able to tell. Then you select this little area here, and then you highlight the very ends, and you just delete them. And then you get this nice image of Excadrill inserted in the area you want. And that's how I would go about doing that. Then, of course, you reduce this, but you don't put it exactly next to it because you want to get the right amount deleted. So this is the last thing you do. You zoom across, you bring it down, and you find this little box here. Then, after you've zoomed in, you bring it right to the edge of the your border, and that's the best way to deal with that. Then, the very last thing you're going to do is, once your layout's all finished, you insert it into whatever editing software you have, and you have this as the bottom layer, because unlike your Photoshop layout where you can put them on top and this area is invisible, Paint doesn't know what invisible means. So this exists as a color, as you can see it here. So unfortunately, you are going to have this as the bottom layer, and try put your viewing recording thing over the top of this as much as possible. It can hang a little bit over, but I would recommend, or you can, I suppose, go a little bit under and try have like a white background. That's another option, but it's completely up to you guys. Hopefully this helps you and gives you an idea of how you're going to create your layout without using Photoshop. If you want to check out the Photoshop thing, go back to where I showed the annotation before and go to there, and you can sort of see a little bit of a difference. But, you know, this works fine, as you can tell. Leave a like if this helped you, or if you just enjoyed in, you know, any other way, shape, or form. And I generally do Pokemon content for those that don't know if I didn't already bring it up. So subscribe for some Pokemon content and all that. Freddy Fishfinger, out.